It's always crazy to listen to those introductions because it's like, really? Yeah, so I'm Astrid. I'm the founder of the ARC, which is this international leadership bootcamp, and we do coach a lot of founders. And the assignment today I was given was to talk about what it means to be a founder. And the context is that a lot of times there's this heroism around setting up a company, but we sometimes fail to see how hard it really is to set up your own company and actually to go through that daily struggle of trying to get in your cash, trying to manage the team, which once you're out of the door, you begin to hate a little bit, and all these kind of things. So actually, I'm a little bit curious about this audience here. Like, who of you is thinking to found or run a startup, or who's even maybe thinking about taking external investment, or who are running a startup already, actually? Okay, yeah, a lot of hands go up. The main challenge is, if you're a VC, right, you're literally stressed out yourself. Think about if you have, let's say, $100 million to invest, you invested in 10 different startups, and then we all know 8 out of 10, to be conservative, fail. So the remaining 2 have to kind of get back all the money that the other ones lost. And if one more fails, the one that remains needs to get back all the money that the other ones lost. So this is why being in a venture-backed startup is sometimes such a crazy experience and literally such a firestorm. For venture capitalists, whether or not you fail, or whether or not you just kind of about return the money, kind of matters to them, but the real important thing is they want you to be in that box where you're that crazy shooting star that recoups all the money for the rest. For founders, this is completely different. So for founders, whether you are in the crazy box here saying, I get like 1 million or 10 million, you'll be like, whoa, 1 million is great, right? But the thing that you're worried about is failure. Because failure is likely. Failure is to be in that 8 out of 10 startups that actually won't make it to the glossy magazines, that won't make it to TEDx. So why is it that all these startups fail, right? And this is our conceptual answer. There's been so many studies about this, but really the core idea is there are some cases, really few, where it's really the tech problem, right? The app doesn't work, whatever. There is, in some cases, also product market fit, error whatsoever, business models are flawed, but the real big boxes, what you're seeing here, is people issues and execution. And what do we mean by that? It's like the point where you're growing so much and you've hit 30 plus people, and it's the first point you think starting about structure. It's that email that you're not daring to open because you fear the bad news, and oops, you've waited 1 hour too long. These are the kind of issues that happen, and it's such tragedy because so many of them are actually avoidable. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. 2, let's say, major tweaks that we've just learned from our work in the past. And it's going to be centered around triggers. So what do we mean by triggers? So triggers are the thing that, whether you want it or not, make you go on autopilot. And once you're on autopilot, you say stupid things or you do decisions that you later regret. And one super big trigger is anger. So if you go to the next slide, here we have a super angry picture. And what do we mean by that? How do angry startups look like? What does it mean to be triggered by anger when you're a startup? So a good example is like, I don't know, you meet the customer that feels so entitled, and bam, you go into bitch mode and you've lost that customer, right? It's that co-founder who makes you go berserk because you are the one that's putting in all the work, and in your opinion, this guy's not working enough, or the girl. And bam, that's the energy you're going to transmit in your next pitch in front of investors. So anger is a big issue, and anger is frequent because these startups are under so much pressure. And it really is about emotions. So many of these people problems come because there are so many emotions in the room, and we fail to acknowledge that we are surrounded by people who are on autopilot. And instead, we think that we're the only one in the room who feels pain, the only one in the room who feels anxious, and definitely the only one in the room who has a right to be pissed off. If that's the feedback, let's put it like this, and I'm speaking from personal experience here. If that is the feedback you keep getting from your team members a lot, like, whoa, your flashes of anger are crazy, right? Or if that's something that you observe yourself doing a lot, and I pledge guilty, here's a really one good question for you that at least helped me a lot and that we use a lot in coaching. And the question is, who do you hate? And I don't mean what, I mean who. Why who? What gives you the boring answers, right? I hate hunger, I hate World War II, I hate arrogance, right? No, we ask, who do you hate? And what exactly do you hate about them? Your colleagues, your team members, your investors, your customers, your board, like the list is endless. And it's such a great question to think about because the answer to this gives you so much great insight about what makes you go out of control. What literally makes you throw out of the window all your like well-intentioned manners and really makes you go berserk. And there's a second point to that, and that is the recommendation is to really sit with that feeling, as Alex said before. Because anger wants to ask you a question, and the question anger asks you is what needs to be protected. Stress comes from resisting those emotions and postponing the necessary act of listening to them. And so what does it mean, what needs to be protected? You know, what are you really pissed off with? Is it the fact that your product team delivered late? Or is it maybe the fact that, I don't know, they only came to the office at 10, whilst you were already there at 8, right? And as a result of that, your malnourished self-care alarm system went berserk saying, hey, the jackasses, how dare you come in late for work while I have been killing myself since 8 o'clock over here? And everything I'm saying is there's a possibility that you're not pissed off with a late delivery of that product or the bug being fixed late, because you could potentially handle that with calm and grace. But maybe, if you're burned out, you lose your ability to think freely and you lose your composure over something as simple as someone taking the rest that you so badly want yourself. So as you can see from that like super, let's say maybe dull example is, it's not necessarily the best answer to your anger to send out to look in your product team and make them work harder, right? A lot of times it's more really ask yourself, what educated choice am I going to make to protect my own well-being from my inner workaholic? And then there's a second one. So anger is that number one thing that we feel is killing startup from the inside. And the second one, maybe the even bigger one, is fear. And I'm from Germany, so this is commonly known in Europe as one of the most risk-averse countries, so I feel like really I'm an expert in this because I'm scared as hell all the time. My poor team members are, suffering from that. And as I said before, like fear is such a big thing because it's likely. Failure is likely, and especially we're talking about fear of failure. Failure is likely, and it's also, in many cases, justified. Because think about it, you as a founder, literally every day are trying to hire people for jobs you've never done before. Yeah? So there are two really, really nice antidotes that we use. And one is to see what question is fear asking you. So, for instance, we say fear asks you the question, what do you need to pay attention to? What are you even scared of? Are you scared of not being in that shooting star box? Are you scared you will only make 9 million, not the 10? Or are you scared of, okay, I'm scared of like, I'm making 0 or negative. Or are you maybe scared of like, once you are bankrupt, that you will never ever get funding again, that you'll never find anyone who gives you money? Or are you more the kind of personal leader where it goes, my biggest fear is I'm gonna have to lay off my friends who I promised the world to. I'm going to be broke financially myself. Or, and that's a big one, I'm going to disappoint my parents. We underestimate how big that really is. But it's a really cool thing to ask yourself that question because it really does one central thing, in that it puts you back into the steering wheel for a safe search for an exit. Why so? Because you can decide how you're going to be prepared for this. And you can decide what kind of founder you want to be. Are you the kind of founder who actually puts the mortgage on the house? Yeah? Or are you the kind of founder who's like, maybe 6 months before I have to do that, I am going to quit startup, find a job. So that's why the startup experiment is so wonderfully important and healing. And then there's a second antidote. And that's more on the inspiring side, let's put it like that. Because the second antidote is, the question is not if failure is going to come, because failure is going to come. So it is literally going to sit on your lap, say, hello there, good morning, you just fucked up. Right? And the truth is, they're going to be fuck-ups. They're going to be these wonderful meetings, we all know them, also when we're not a founder, that when you leave the room and you want to shrink to the size of a peanut because you just said something completely ridiculous. There are going to be these moments where you do something rash and you put maybe your product launch or the relationship with a super important client at risk. So the question is not if failure is going to come. The question really is what person do you want to be when the shit hits the fan? Yeah? It's easy, no, actually wrong. It's hard to be a good leader when things are going well, but being able to inspire your teams to walk through fire for and with you, that's when we see when these startups succeed. And that ultimate realization of taking failure to the test is a mindset that we just believe to be one of the main success drivers of the startups that actually have succeeded. So, these were, so to say, 2 antidotes against fear. And also at least one against anger. So the recommendation, as I've said before, is to not drive that stupid feeling away, because it's going to come through, it's going to haunt you, and the only chance it literally has is to come back twice the force. So knowing those antidotes now, obviously the last remaining question is, who do you dare to be? So, good luck and see you soon.